All right, hi friends, it's Kristen coming to you again from my Cloffice, ready for our first online math lesson, which is very exciting. So when you come each day to the video math lesson, you will need your math journal and a pencil, just like at school. And instead of a slate, you'll need a piece of paper. So if you don't have those things right now, a math journal, a pencil, and a piece of paper, hit pause, run and get them, and then come on back. All right, we are going to start with our slate work, and instead of on a slate, I'd like you to write on your piece of paper. I am going to show you a few fraction circles one at a time, and I'd like you to write down on your paper the fraction of the circle that is unshaded. The fraction of the circle that is unshaded. All right, let's look at the first one. Please write down on your piece of paper the fraction of this circle that is unshaded. The part of that fraction that is unshaded was 1/4, so you should have written 1/4, 1/4. All right, let's look at our second fraction circle. Please write down the unshaded part of this circle. And you should have written that the unshaded part was 2/3, 2 out of 3 of those fraction pieces were unshaded. And then finally, our last fraction circle. Please write down the unshaded part of this fraction circle. And for that one, you should have written 5/6. 5 out of 6 of those pieces were unshaded. All right, now I'd like you to open up your math journal to page 240. Look on page 240. It says locating 1/2 on number lines. I'm going to read the math message and you can follow along on your book. It says the whole is the distance from 0 to 1. The whole is the distance from 0 to 1. Label 1/2 where you think it should go on the number line. Share your thinking with a partner. Well, you can't really share your thinking with a partner, but go ahead and label 1/2 where you think it should go on the number line. All right, right here, halfway between 0 and 1 is where you should have marked and labeled 1/2. If you didn't put your label there, go ahead and switch it now. 1/2 is always going to be between 0 and 1. Then if I wanted to label the other halves on this number line, starting at 0, I would say 0 halves. We already labeled 1/2. 2 halves, 3 halves, and 4 halves. So if I wanted to see all of the halves on this number line starting at 0, I would say 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves. All right, look down at number line number 1. You'll see that this number line is a little bit different because instead of going from 0 to 2, it goes from 0 to 3. There are 3 whole numbers on this number line. However, I'd still like you to find and mark where you think 1/2 should go on this number line. Go ahead and mark and label 1/2 on this number line. Yes, it will always go halfway between 0 and 1. Go ahead and change yours if you didn't put your 1/2 there. Then, if I wanted to label all of the halves on this number line starting at 0, I would say 0 halves, we labeled 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, and 6 halves. Then, starting at 0, and we can count our halves all the way to the whole number 3, we would say 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves. All right, look down at the last number line. A little bit different again. This time our number line goes from 0 all the way to 6. Still, I would like you to find and mark 1/2 on this number line. Please find and mark 1/2 on this last number line. Yes, it will always go halfway between 0 and 1. So 1/2 is here. And just like the others, I can go ahead and label all the halves on this number line starting with 0. There will be a lot of them. 0 halves, 1/2 is already labeled. 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves. That was weird. You can keep labeling while I erase my weird marks. 7 halves, 8 halves, 9 halves, 10 halves, 11 halves, and 12 halves. Then, traveling from 0 all the way to 6, let's count our halves. 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves, 7 halves, 8 halves, 9 halves, 10 halves, 11 halves, and 12 halves. Go ahead and fill in your page to look like this if you haven't already done that. All right, hit pause if you need a little more time, but when you're ready, go ahead and turn the page to 241. It says locating fractions on number lines. I'm going to read the directions at the top. You can follow along in your book. It says the whole number on the number lines below is the distance between 0 and 1. All of these are between 0 and 1. Partition or break apart each number line to locate and then label the given fraction. Hint, on some number lines there's more than one whole, for example the one at the bottom. So let's look at number 1 together. The fraction that they'd like us to locate and label is 1/3. They'd like us to locate and find 1/3 on this number line. Let me go ahead and get my pen. So we are not this time finding 1/2, which of course would be halfway between 0 and 1. We are imagining this space between 0 and 1 instead being broken into 3 equal parts. So I'm going to do my best to mark it into thirds, and 1/3 would be this first mark. Go ahead and fill yours in just like this. You can see that from 0 to 1 there would be 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. All right, I would like you to finish the rest of this page on your own. You can do the try this at the bottom. When you finish this page, go on to Math Boxes 7.9, and then after that, or maybe later today, I'd like you to complete HomeLink 7.9. You can have your parents email me if you have any questions, and when you're finished with your math journal work, it would be great if you had an adult look it over for you. All right, you can do this. Math journal page 241, Math Boxes 7.9, HomeLink 7.9. Good luck.